give you a really quick overview of what you can or can't post. So if you're worried about the wording in your subject title of your email newsletter or blog post or video or whatever, or if you're worried your content might get censored, it's got nudity or whatever. So first and foremost, it's a place for writing. Substack's very upfront about that. We encourage creative writing. So they have the least amount of censorship of any other platform other than like places like OnlyFans, of course. I'm just going to read from their page here. So if you have questions about whether your content might breach their guidelines or not, you can actually email them tos@substackinc.com and they'll reply. It's still small enough and early enough you can actually talk to the developers and the team. So just, it's good to reach out to them first, because a lot of times if it's like on the fence or if it's related to art and maybe you paint nudity, stuff like that, usually they'll almost always allow it, right? They just don't like stuff that's like really like hardcore, intentionally, lewd. They are basically like, you are fully responsible for whether your stuff's legal or not, as far as copyright goes and like that. Overall, they really encourage debate and discussion of controversial topics. They really like that. And they'll only really interfere if there's credible threats to physical harm. So they'll pretty much let whatever conversations go. Hate speech, they, again, no threats of physical harm to people based on their race, ethnicity, nation, just and they don't want any threats or physical harm targeted at specific groups. So you don't want to target any specific group or they'll take that down, right? They don't allow doxing. And we don't typically consider private home addresses or phone numbers to be a valid exception. We don't typically get publishing private information as publicly available journalistic. Okay, so they're saying even though like publishing private information like for journalistic purposes is not technically a violation, they still don't allow. Don't dox people. They have a really easy feature where you can go and blur out things in your thumbnails you upload. They're gonna come after you if you're doing any kind of plagiarism or impersonation. They use Stripe. So if you're worried about monetization and your monetization getting taken away, then look at Stripe's terms of services. They have a lot more really terrible restrictions. Stripe is like way evil compared to Substack about what they allow. And unfortunately, Stripe is what you need for almost every platform. And they're like super anti like sex worker stuff, like anything like that. Like they are just really evil with that stuff. So you might have to make like an all new like bank account with a new like whatever information and then get that set up with Stripe. So if you're trying to actually get payouts from Substack or other social media platforms, you need to get good with Stripe. So start there, set up your Stripe account, make sure that's in good standing, make sure it's not associated with payouts from OnlyFans or anything like that, because they're really like evil about that stuff. And then you link that to Substack, and at that point, you're getting your payouts. But usually you don't have to worry about Substack taking away your monetization. It's Stripe who usually does it first. So make sure to read theirs. Let me see here, don't allow content that promotes harmful or illegal activities, including material that advocates, threatens, or shows you causing harm to yourself, other people, or animals. They really are not down with any stuff with kids at all. They are, this quote, vehemently anti-spam, anti-phishing. If you are importing a mailing list from another platform, you are required to ensure it's made up of people who explicitly opted in to receive emails from your specific publication. They do not allow you to purchase email lists, and you can buy mailing lists with like thousands of people online, right? Like the state of Indiana is one, for example. Like they take all of their people who sign up for health insurance in the state and they sell those to mass marketing companies. And someone showed me this on TikTok in 2020. They went to the state of Wisconsin or something and found where they could buy mailing lists from them. So like these mass marketing companies will spend like a couple grand and they'll buy like 1 million emails and they'll just mass market to all of them. And the best place to get those is like from the government, right? Because they sell your info all the time. But Substack does not allow that. So if you're trying to do mass marketing stuff or import mailing lists from other places, or even trying to scrape your own emails, let's say you're a tattoo artist, and you wanted to take every email from every person who ever came through your shop. And one thing we did was like, with ours, we like added a paragraph in our waiver that was like, hey, coming through here and everything, you opt in to communication from us. That way we have consent to email you and stuff like that. Follow up with tattoos, heel photos, whatever. But if you don't have a clause or anything like that, and no one like checked a box or signed up for your newsletter, Because I didn't even use those emails, even though we had consent. I just used my emails. Like I had 700 that were specifically from people who went to my website or our shop's website and clicked, I want to subscribe for newsletter updates. So I imported those I was using Square and then MailChimp, and I imported those into Substack, and that's okay. But even then, that's on the fence, because for me, I was just continuing my personal newsletter onto Substacks. Like my career transformed. I'm still doing tattoos there. But other people, you can't just grab a mailing list from wherever and bring it in, right? It needs to be like for someone who's agreed to sign up for a newsletter. So they take that stuff pretty seriously. And they really don't like it if you're spamming other people with like on Substacks. They don't want you to say, don't post spam when interacting with others on Substacks, such as in comments, discussion threads, or email replies. So they don't want you just using like an AI tool to go and be like, oh, follow me here on everything. They'll take that down. It says right here, Substack is intended for high quality editorial content, not conventional email marketing. So we do not permit publications whose primary purpose is to advertise external products or services or drive traffic to third-party sites, blah, blah, blah. They are very serious about this. So this is right here. This is what I'm saying. If you're a tattoo artist and you do a booking newsletter and Substack is free, right? So let's say you pay $40 a month to use MailChimp and you want to be like, oh, hey, Substack does that for free. I'm just going to drag and drop my email newsletter list, like my booking newsletter, into Substack. And because it's free, right? I'll save $40 a month and then I can just do my booking newsletter through Substack now. And that is literally breaking their terms of service, and because that is marketing, and that is the opposite what Substack's for. So it's intended for high quality editorial content, not conventional email marketing. When you and it's called a booking newsletter, that is conventional email marketing, and that does not qualify for legitimate use on Substack. If you want to come on Substack and you want to have people's books open, that should be just a sentence in the bottom of a high quality thing you wrote. Maybe you can write an editorial about the history of tattooing or your personal journey throughout the last 10 years and like where it's brought you and blah, 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 whatever you're writing about. At the bottom, you can put a separate section in your newsletter that's, oh, by the way, this is when my book's open, this is when I close. But if you just want to use it for a free place to use your marketing for your books open and books closed, it may work for a little bit, but they're going to delete you for that because that is not what it's for. Also, it hurts us all. I have a really big beef with this because when I go to search for people who are writing about tattoo history, tattoo archaeology, tattoo whatever culture, that's what I'm really into is like tattoo subcultures, what we write about. You can't find anything because it's just a bunch of dumb tattoo artists who are just like using it for their booking newsletter. It makes me really angry because I'm trying to genuinely interact and engage with other writers who are interested in tattoo culture and writing about high quality things for artists and clients and enthusiasts and everywhere. And I can't even find it because it's just a bunch of artists using it as a free booking email marketing thing. And that ain't going to last. They're going to get deleted. I promise you. It says it right here they're going to. Don't do that. Okay, when it comes to nudity, porn, and erotica, we don't allow porn or sexually exploitative content on Substack, including any visual depictions of sexual acts for the sole purpose of sexual gratification. We do allow depictions of nudity for artistic, journalistic, or related purposes, as well as erotic literature. However, we have a strict no nudity policy for profile images. We may hide or remove explicit content from Substack's discovery features, including search and on Substack.com. So this goes out to you, Diego. I'm going to send this to you. This is your green light. Green light for if you do fine art that has nudity or even sexual acts. They said it right here in plain letters. You are good to go. This is the place for you. Isn't that beautiful? There's been nowhere since Tumblr for that. To a community where you can actually post like erotica art and write erotica writing. That is why I'm a Substack stan. I will write out. These same rules apply to comments, notes, and other community surfaces. We believe that writers are responsible for moderating their own communities because every Substack profile is basically a Facebook group in a sense. You're running that group. It's up to you to mod it, right? Don't create accounts for the sole purpose of circumventing boundaries like blocks and bans imposed by other users. You may intervene or remove accounts engaged in artificial or inauthentic activity. So this is the last thing I mentioned. Substack is very serious about being genuine and being a writer and being a person. So like with Substack, it's for Underblast, it's like me, I have a profile, Clover has a profile, and then Underblast is his own profile, and that's it. At no point will we ever create another profile because everything needs to be clear about who's who, because this is a writing and art platform to build community. So you really need it to be clear who's getting credit. Think about it like this. It's all about getting credit. Like when you listen to a song, you want to know who produced it, who mixed and mastered it, who wrote the lyrics, who played the parts. Like it's the same on Substacks. Like we're eventually Under Blast going to have 20 writers, and you're going to be able to see exactly who wrote for each article all times. That is what Substack is before. If you ever make 2 or 3 profiles, then at that point is when it becomes like not legit. That's not what it's for, and they're going to get you eventually. Anyway, that's all. The last thing I want to say again is just tattooers trying to use this for booking newsletters. Stop it. Stop it. They're going to get you. You're not even going to get away with it. And it hurts everyone. It hurts the community. They have a, quote, lightweight moderation policy, and they only are going to focus on removing content. This is what it takes to actually get your content removed. And that's harassing, threatening, or inciting violence, spam, anything that's deceptive, that looks like something that's intentionally deceptive, pornographic, or explicitly sexual. You can have nudity. You just can't have like hardcore porn. And as far as like artwork goes, this is stuff that's still not being fully hammered out yet, but they are on the lenient side. If you're not sure and you feel scared to post your artwork there, this is one of the only platforms where you can post it and it'll work. Don't be scared. You're better off going for it and then working it out with the mods. They also get rid of any calls for violence, extremist ideologies, so extremism. And this is important. The moderation decisions are left to the founders. The founders of Substack are doing something I really appreciate here, are explicitly saying, we take responsibility for the moderation decisions, and ultimately it's up to us. Companies like Meta will actually use third-party contractors to handle their moderation. And if things go wrong, it can be like, it wasn't really my fault, we subbed that out. The Substack is straight up being, they call a lot of heat for this. There was a lot of extremist groups and hate groups on Substack the last few years, using it as a platform to share all of their hardcore stuff, including ABs and stuff like that. And they got in a lot of trouble for that. But on the flip side, they also made a space where everyone else can write without worrying about censorship. That's what it took to get going on that. It looks like they have, since all of the fallout from the public, they have taken a step to actually actively work on removing extremism and hate speech stuff. But it has to be really straight up. It doesn't mean there isn't that kind of stuff still on there. They're going out of the way to try to get the really extreme stuff. The general terms of use and content guidelines apply broadly to all text inputs, text overlays on videos, titles, descriptions, everything. Just as a note here, if you have a newsletter that you're bringing into Substack, you can add your own terms of service and privacy policies to your publication. If you just go to your settings page and scroll down to the bottom, it lets you type up and load up your own custom terms of service. Substack is a place to host your email newsletter. If you're someone who built a paid newsletter over the years, you can actually, and you have a couple thousand subs, email newsletters that's been around for decades. You can actually bring that to Substack and they will pay you cash money, thousands of dollars to switch to their platform to do your newsletter. And also, they don't charge to send out emails. MailChimp charges $40 a month if you want to send 2,000 emails a month. Substack does that totally for free. And you can repeatedly send out multiple newsletters and it's for free. That's why Substack is a really big deal. And if you're doing any kind of email newsletter, you cannot beat Substack. Although this is still more censorship than someone with just an OG email newsletter, because that's the beauty of it. It's email newsletter is offline. You don't need to be on a social media platform to have one. And in this case, you are becoming part of one by moving over to Substack. But you get the crazy benefits and to be part of a community. Also, Substack has a creative license. You retain full copyright over your work. And Substack receives a royalty-free worldwide license to host, display, and distribute your content. Where you post to something like Meta, a lot of these other platforms, most of them have language that says they basically own anything you post on there. We own the IP, we own the copyright. A lot of them have really shady language, and they do that because they can sell your data. That's their whole business. They take your data, they sell it, they use it to train AI and stuff like that. It's cool that Substack goes a little step further to give you more protections as a creator to own your IP. I'm not saying they don't do that other stuff, but if you go into your settings, you can actually choose to toggle on or off whether you let AI tools or AI train or search on your content. With Underblast, we have ours toggled on because I specifically am targeting GEO, generative engine optimizations. When you search a question on ChatGPT, I want Underblast to show up. If you want to show up on a search result, then you want to turn that stuff on. A quick overview of their content guidelines. This is on their page, substack.com/content. First off, Substack is a place for independent writing. All about creative writing first and foremost. And if you have any questions, if your content is good or not, and you're afraid about posting, you can actually just email. If you're afraid of posting something and it'll get censored, this is where you can come, substack.com/content.